So as parents, our heart breaks because even though this child thinks he or she is old enough, we can see they're just our little boy or girl. So instead of freaking out and pushing them to talk to us more or forcing conversations, we've come up with some tactful tips to help open them up.
So, tip number 1. Hi everyone, welcome to TalktousToday. I'm Namita.
And I'm Simrit. And today on TalktousToday, we will be talking about how to get children to open up and speak with us. I've had so many parents complain to me about preteens who do not share their feelings and problems with them. In fact, it's not just problems and feelings, but even about random stuff at school. In fact, kids are not opening up about what's going on outside of the home. And honestly, I see that parents are really distressed about this, Namita. And more so because moms and dads remembered just a year ago that these little bouncy kids would get into the lab and tell them every little detail about how their friend ate a piece of chewing gum and didn't share, and they were cuddling them and distressed. And it was just the best feeling to be able to help our kid. But as you know, the child turns 11 or 12, and all of a sudden, he or she clams up. They're not ready to talk to the parents about anything. They would much rather speak with their friends or cousins about everything. So as parents, our heart breaks because even though this child thinks he or she is old enough, we can see they're just our little boy or girl.
Correct. In fact, even, when we try to reason with the parent that didn't we all go through the age where we stopped talking to our parents? It's bound to happen to the kids too. And the parents protest, oh, we were older. It wasn't until we were like 15, 16, not so early. And you know what? These parents are probably right, but times have changed, Simrit. Hormonal changes have started happening earlier. Kids are more aware of what's happening around them. They're exposed to so many things before their age.
Right.
I mean, I sometimes feel that they're growing older before their age.
Yeah, they are.
And we as a parent are also, more sensitive to how, our kids behave with us these days. So
it's so true. I remember, this reminds me of a hilarious episode of this American sitcom called Man with a Plan, starring Matt LeBlanc, like Joey from Friends. So Blanc has 3 young kids, and he's so concerned about their feelings and how they're not responding to him as a father. And he's like, I'm going to go old school, and they have to listen to me. And Matt's father, a 70-year-old chauvinist, comes in through the door, and he starts laughing. He goes, you guys talk more about feelings than we ever thought about you guys even. I never cared about you guys. Feelings of kids don't matter. What the hell are you doing? And I don't agree with this, but it brings up an interesting point, right? About how sensitive we parents are. We want the kids to share every little detail with us. We want them to come bouncing in from school, ready to share all about their day. But as kids get older, they don't think they need to talk as much, and it's a natural process of getting older. So instead of freaking out and pushing them to talk to us more or forcing conversations, we've come up with some tactful tips to help open them up.
Right. So the tip number 1 is, as they come from school or you come from work, start the conversation with a non-academic conversation.
That's a good.
Meaning, tell them how your day was, who they had lunch with, what they had for lunch. Ask them how their soccer practice or tennis practice was. And if they start talking about test or test-related marks, say to them, no, nobody. I want to talk about your day-to-day, whom you met, whom you had lunch with, or something interesting that happened. Talk about your friends. Steer the topic away from academics. Kids complain that parents all the time, they're only interested in our studies, and that's all they want to talk about.
It's so
So
true, right?
that's exactly. So that's all they start sharing with you. So, and when they start talking about topics that you have absolutely no interest in, just let them go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And listen to them. That way they would know that you are interested in whatever interest they have in, you know, and don't walk to the door and say, hey, did you do your homework? Or, you know, have you finished this project? No, I mean, they would not want to talk to you later. You know, they would just restrict their conversation to that.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's equal to, you know, asking an adult, how much money did you make today?
That's so true. Can you imagine like walking through the door and your spouse says, hey, did you make money today? Or you just go, I wouldn't want to talk to anyone who just wanted to know that. That's a good one. So for me, tip number 2 is when the kids talk, don't be judgmental. Practice playing it cool, even when you're freaking out inside. Let's say they come, they're about 9 or 10, and they tell you about this child who's dropping the F word. Now, our natural instinct is to tell them, this child is not allowed in my house. You better not be hanging out with them. You better not be using this word. And then your child is
very
like,
judgmental.
I don't think I need to tell the parents this, but if your child is willingly telling you something that happened at school, curb your disciplinary nature. Just let them talk. Don't tell them, you better not be using that word. Like, that just won't work out, right? Instead, let them talk and don't get shocked. Perhaps a better way is just start natural conversations. Like, I don't know, you just tell them, like, I think that kid's kind of young to be using that kind of word. I mean, you know, but what do you guys think? How many kids use it? So just have a natural two-way conversation and value their, like, you know, just listen to what they're saying instead of a one-way lecture.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Simrit. And, you know, when they tell us about that they use such words, my friend uses such words, try not to make it a big deal, to make them feel really, you know, oh my God, this is kind of a blunder done by somebody. Just, you know, with a smooth conversation, you try to make your child understand things.
Right.
Yeah. So, you know, another important tip for me is to spend one-on-one time with your child. If your kid is staying quiet and non-communicative, go out for a drive with him or her, or just one-on-one, you know, any conversation, and leave the other kids or your spouse at home, go for a nature's walk, and just take them out for ice cream. Just let them open up without, you know, the pressure of people around them, and take them for swimming or let them feel comfortable with you. And during this activity, don't, you know, harass the child by asking, oh, what's bothering you? Tell me, you know, and let them open up naturally. Once they feel comfortable, they will open up and start communicating and start sharing. Also, always invest in family time, which I feel is very, very important.
Yes.
Whether it's eating meals together or movie night or playing board games. That is so much fun. I mean, I do a lot.
I know.
And these bonds are even important as kids grow older. You know?
They're actually more important, aren't they? Like, that's like, we forget, we're like, oh, everybody has their own lives. Now we can, no, family time is more important as the kids get older. I think that's
exactly
really true. So a big one for me is to be honest with your kids. So give what you expect, you know. And now these will be things that there will be things like that we adults don't need to talk to kids because they're not, and keep it that way. Like, you know, we don't need them to grow up before their time. But if your kids have a fight with his or her best friend, and he doesn't want to talk about it, well, you know, you can, the chances are they feel like you don't get it because you don't fight with your friends or you don't care about your friends. So this is the time to be honest about how much our friendships matter to us, about how in the past or in the present we are having a fight with a friend, or you can tell them, you know, I fight with mom and dad as well, or like, you know, their mom and dad as well. and how to make things better. Be honest about your relationships as well. And remember to keep it age appropriate. They don't need to grow up too much before their time, like I said. If a child's been bullied at school, be honest with him or her about your, experience with bullying, how you dealt with it. And it's a natural part of growing up. And you can kind of tell them that. Of course, they'll turn around and say things are different now, but it's true. So you tell them about, that you dealt with it and how you felt. Don't just tell them about the experience. Be honest about what you felt. Don't tell them to just ignore the kid because, it's not realistic. So keep it real. That would be my advice. Keep it real with kids. They sense it.
Yes, absolutely. They're very, very sensitive. So another big tip from me is that when a child is going into a shell, you want them to open up, put your phones down, give them your full attention.
Agreed.
Yes. Yes. And I've seen so many parents who do not put their phones down and they're good parents, but communication becomes lopsided. You're not giving your full attention to your kids. And when the child looks at the screen while speaking to you, you will be furious.
No,
right?
I don't get it why parents do this. Like if we're talking to somebody in a meeting or we're in a social gathering and somebody is like, here, like, we find it so, we're like, what are you doing? Like, this guy is so rude or this guy. But when kids talk to us and we do that, we find that acceptable. No, guys, that's not good. This is a good one, Namita.
Yes, so please put your phones down and pay attention. In fact, keep the phones or TVs on only during times needed. Communication will increase between the entire family and make yourself approachable and available to your kids. That is very important.
Such a big one. That's such a big one. Yeah. Like, when people get assessments at work and they're like, this person's not as approachable, we try to change it. But with kids, we don't find that's necessary. Come on, more important than work. Make yourself approachable and available. I like that. Children can sense when you're not there 100%. And not only will they not open up, they'll take this as a norm and they'll start ignoring you. And then it's a slippery slope down from there. So my last tip is, and this might be kind of in continuation with what I was saying earlier, when your child tells you how they messed up. So they did something big. They failed a test, they scratched your car with their bike, or they got into the car seat, or they ate an entire box of chocolate. That's a big no-no. So try very hard inside not to lash out and overreact. Obviously, instinctively, we want to yell at them, tell them that we're so disappointed and they cannot leave their room till they're 20. But hang on, what's that really going to achieve? It's not going to achieve anything. So listen to them, get some distance, tell them the discussion isn't over and they can go to their rooms. And I strongly believe of teaching kids consequences. There's parents out there who don't punish at all, and punish, obviously, that goes without saying that we're talking about age-appropriate, non-physical punishments. But yeah, if people believe in that, and I don't, I think kids need to be taught consequences because when they go out into the real world, there are consequences. So teach them that at home. So make sure to convey to them that this behavior was not acceptable. Find what you find, obviously, like you can keep them away from a party that they have to go to, or like a form of grounding, like where they can't interact with their friends. For me, one of the punishments I give them is you have to tell your grandparents. My child's very close to his grandparents. And because they all think like he's this perfect child. So I said, well, you have to tell your grandparents how you missed. And he gets so upset. He's like, I can't tell them. I'm like, no, this is if it's a big one. I'm like, no, you got to do it. The grandparents already normally know, but it's his way of sitting there and confessing to what he's done. But keep the lines of communication open. Be reasonable, with your sense of your form of punishment. But, don't treat it like it's the end of the world, because really nothing is. And other problem is that children will learn, if the punishment's too harsh, they'll learn to hide their mistakes from you. So don't do that. It'll keep the
And also I feel parents feel like they have to control the child, like, child has to be on their fingertips. So
Yeah.
they like controlling. If I said no, that means child immediately has to say no, have to say stop there.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. They have their own mind. So we have to work out the ways to, tell them the right thing, and along with what they're thinking, and or if we have to correct them, we have to learn the ways.
Yeah,
Every
like
child
they
is
say
different.
no means no. And we were like that, right? Like no, but with the age,
Yeah.
you say, no, hang on, you can't let them, they have to rebel. Like kids, go
But
away, go to the other room. We have something to tell your parents. But kids will break the rules, just learn
yes.
how to be, don't completely ignore it, but kind of know how boundaries change with age,
Exactly. Yeah. So the takeaway for today is always, I would say, always keep the lines of communication open with your children.
Yay, for sure.
That is very important. Be honest and don't be judgmental, and always make time for family. Don't push your kids too hard, and follow the tips. And the child should come back to you naturally. You should just let the child be, and try whatever you can, whatever way you
Works for you, whatever.
follow, and whatever you just, because that's your child. Nobody knows the child better than you. So you have to figure out the ways to to make sure that your child comes back to you naturally.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's all on Talktus today, but we look forward to hearing from you. So if you have anything that you would like to share or talk, or want us to talk about, or you want to tell us about our show, do let us know in the comment section, or email us at hello@talktoustoday.com, and let your friends know where to find us.
Do let us know how you get your kids to open up. So if we've missed anything, we'd love to know. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell to stay notified of our new videos every Friday at 6 p.m. Thank you for joining us on Talk to Us Today. Remember to talk to us today, guys.
Yeah, yes. Keep smiling.
Keep laughing and keep
Most
talking.
important, yes,
keep talking.
yeah.
Bye, guys. See you next Friday. Bye.
Bye. See you.